But we're turning our attention now back to Georgia. We've been recapping key testimony in the killer's daughter murder trial.
The defendant here, Christopher Wolfenbarger, is accused of brutally murdering his wife, 21-year-old Melissa Wolfenbarger, then dismembering her body and hiding her remains in a wooded area in Atlanta across the street from where he worked.
We're listening to unaired highlights that happened yesterday. Right now, we are listening to Melissa's former coworker. So she's the victim in this case. She disappeared in 1998. A lot of attention is on what she was doing and what happened to her in that time period. She had a coworker who was also a lover of hers, Thomas Michael Dixon.
Tell the court, were you in the Atlanta area in 1998?
Yes.
All right. At that point, how long had you been living in the Atlanta area?
I've been in the Atlanta area since '93. This is when I first arrived here in Georgia.
All right. Now, during that period...
Forgive me. I definitely am going to need you to pull that microphone towards you.
Okay.
Make sure my court reporter and I can hear you clearly. Thank you, sir. Go ahead, Mr. Fossett.
All right. During that period, were you employed?
Yes.
And what were you doing for a living?
Waffle House.
And what did you do while you were working at Waffle House?
I cooked.
All right. And that would have been in that period of 1998?
Yes.
Specifically, what locations, Waffle House locations, did you work at?
Many locations. When I first got there in '93, I started out on Buford Highway in Doraville. And then I transferred from there. It was, I can't say the exact year, 97. It was after the Olympics.
Okay.
And I transferred over to Peachtree Corners.
And do you remember what time of year you would have been at Peachtree Corners?
Yeah, it was in 1998.
Okay, would that have been at the beginning, the middle, or the end of 1998?
About the middle.
All right. You familiar with the name Melissa Wolfenbarger?
Yes, sir.
How do you know that name?
She was my waitress.
All right. And when you say waitress, describe what your role at Waffle House and what her role would have been.
I was like the shift supervisor, cook, management. At that time, earlier in my career, I was just mostly a cook and just a shift supervisor.
Okay. And what types of, when you say you were a supervisor, what types of responsibilities would a supervisor have in relationship to, say, a waitress, as Melissa Wolfenbarger would have been employed in?
It's a team effort. When we work together, we help each other out, support each other on the floor, take care of customers.
Do you recall what locations, Waffle House locations, you would have worked at with Melissa Wolfenbarger?
Yes.
And what locations were those?
I started working with her in Doraville on the Buford Highway location, and then I seen her again over when I transferred to. I can't think of the unit number. It's Peachtree Corners, though. The one I transferred to Peachtree Corners. She was over there.
Okay. How would you describe your relationship with Melissa Wolfenbarger?
She was my friend. She was one of my really close friends. The girls that I work with are, it's kind of like a family thing at Waffle House. You know, we establish a close relationship when we work with each other.
Did you talk about your families, your children with Melissa Wolfenbarger? Did you discuss that?
No.
Did Melissa Wolfenbarger discuss her personal circumstances with you?
She usually did it to another waitress. She usually talked to another waitress that was one of our friends. Her name was Elizabeth. And her name was Elizabeth. And Elizabeth would come back and tell me, back at that time I was...
Sustained.
Well, I didn't get that he was going to repeat an out-of-court statement. Now, Mr. Dixon, we want to try to avoid repeating anything that someone else said out of court.
Okay.
But I do want to keep you on that period at Waffle House in '98. When you started working with Melissa at, I believe you said it was a Doraville location?
Yes.
Around what time of year would that have been?
About the middle of the year, I'd say.
And then do you recall around what time of year you would have started working with Melissa at the Peachtree Corners location?
Later that year.
And at any point, can you tell the jury if the nature of your relationship with Melissa Wolfenbarger changed at any point?
We just became closer.
All right. At any point, did you become intimate with Melissa Wolfenbarger?
Yes.
Can you tell us around when in the relationship during the year did that occur?
In the year, probably around toward the later fall.
Okay. And when you say intimate, did Melissa ever spend any time at any location that you may have been staying at during that period?
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
Yes, she, when I first met her, it was her birthday, and I took her out for a birthday dinner across the street from where we worked at in Doraville to a Chinese restaurant. And we had too much to drink, and we went and got a hotel room behind the Waffle House that night. And I was respectful. None of us, we didn't have any intercourse or no sexual relations that night. She went home the next morning because she said she had to get back to her kids. And we continued to work. You know, she came in, I went home, she went home, and we came back to work at 2:30 in the afternoon. We worked the afternoon shift.
All right. At any point, did you come to learn that Melissa was married?
Yes.
How did you learn that?
I believe it was just her sharing with Elizabeth and talking to me.
Okay. Did she actually discuss, did she actually tell you that she was married?
No.
Melissa never told you that she was married?
Not that she was married, but I knew she had a boyfriend.
Did you ever meet that person that you describe as being Melissa's boyfriend?
One time.
All right. Do you recall that instance when you met him?
Yes.
What do you recall about that date?
It was in the evening, and we was both about ready to get off work, and Chris showed up at the job, and he came inside the restaurant, and I was on the grill cooking, and Melissa was over there sitting down talking to him at the booth, and then she got up and ran to the back room, was crying, and I went to the back room and asked her what's wrong, and she was just, I couldn't really understand what she was, because she was crying, hysterical. And she said something about it was him, you know, he's messing with her. So he was on his way out, and I followed him out, and I told him, I said, leave her alone until 9 o'clock. I said, after 9 o'clock, then you can have her, but until then, she's mine.
Okay. How close?
Yeah, well, you know, the Waffle House family thing there.
Well, this is important, though,
And
because
he meant she's mine, and we're working together. Now, they also
Sure.
had the side thing
they had
going,
the thing going on, but this is telling us about 1998 and what was happening. What was the dynamic between these two people?
Yeah. Let's get a break. When we come back, we'll have more of the Waffle House lover on the stand. Stay with us.
Matriarch of the Adelson family gets arrested.
Donna Adelson is facing charges of murder, the death of her former son-in-law, Dan Markell.
Prosecutors say a bitter child custody battle was the motive for the murder-for-hire plot.
Now that Donna has turned into a defendant, what's next for the Adelson clan?
Now that the ship is really sinking fast, blood doesn't matter that much.
The Matriarch Mastermind murder trial. Live coverage begins this week, only on Court TV.
Welcome back. We are in Atlanta, Georgia this afternoon in a case that is decades old and has a lot of different players. Defendant Christopher Wolfenbarger is the one who's on trial, and it's over the dismembered remains of his wife, Melissa. They were found in trash bags tossed on the side of the road in 1999.
But she would not be identified until years later, decades later. Police arrested Christopher, the husband, who he'd maintained at the time that, Melissa left on her own accord to start a new life in California and just never returned. Let's go back to the courtroom now. We're listening to testimony from Melissa's co-worker and good friend at the Waffle House, Thomas Dixon.
Okay. How close were you to The person you described as being Melissa's boyfriend, how close were you to him at the time you said that?
We was in front of each other, maybe a couple feet apart.
They're both outside?
Yes.
And was there any response at that time?
No.
What happened after that?
Just turned around and went and got in his car, and I went back inside, and we went back to work.
At any point, did you see that individual leave the restaurant?
Who? Chris?
Yes.
Well, he was leaving when I followed him out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you see him leave in the vehicle?
Yeah, with her that night when they left.
How would you describe the manner in which he drove off?
Very irate.
What do you mean by that?
Tires were squealing and peeling up and down the road.
Did it appear to you at the time that he was upset?
Yeah.
Now, at that point, had you and Melissa become intimate?
Yes.
All right. And when did that occur?
I don't know exactly when. It was, she stayed with me for about 4 or 5 days during that week because, let's see, I had came to work one day, and we always go back and smoke cigarettes, and we would be drinking beer or something while we're at work, and we would talk, and she would tell me, you know, about an abusive relationship she was in.
Okay. If I can get you to just speak up so I can make sure I'm hearing everything that you're saying, could you repeat that?
Yes, she would talk to me about her abusive relationship with Chris.
Okay. And you say abusive, but when you describe it as abusive, what exactly did she say to give you the impression she was describing abuse?
I mean, she wouldn't really exactly describe the details, but I could see it. It was visible on her body.
And what do you mean by that?
The marks, the scratches, the bruises.
Okay. You saw signs of what appeared to be abuse.
Yeah.
And where on her body would you see that?
On her arms. I seen one on her cheekbone.
And besides the individual that you're referring to, did you know any of Melissa's family, sister? Did you know any family members?
No. Mm-mm.
And when you and Melissa had become intimate, was there any point when you had unprotected sex with Melissa Waffenbarger?
Yes.
And would that have been towards that end period you've been testifying to in 1998?
Yes.
And how soon after, say, you became intimate, the last point when you were intimate with Melissa Waffenbarger was the last time you actually saw her?
Maybe a day or two later.
Okay.
That's when we went to work, and that's when Chris came up there to the job, and she said she had to go home. She mentioned something about her kids.
Okay. And at that point, did you have the knowledge that she had children?
I always she talked about her kids. Yeah.
And then how would she, when she would talk about her children, how would she speak about them?
Very briefly. I mean, it wasn't really a topic. You know, she said she had kids and she missed them. She said that a few times while we was together.
Do you remember describing a type of vehicle that you saw Finna drive off in?
Yeah, it was like a yellow slug bug back in the 90s. You know, like a Volkswagen.
Volkswagen,
yeah.
Okay. Like a Volkswagen Beetle, is that what you just?
Yes.
One moment, Judge.
Okay.
Dixon, do you recall giving a statement to law enforcement, the detectives in this case?
Yeah, back in 2003.
Okay, back in 2003.
Yeah.
All right. Do you recall a time frame that you were able to give the detectives as to the last date, the last month that you saw Melissa Wolfenbarger?
I believe I told them the same thing that I told you, yeah.
You recall, what was that date that you saw Melissa Wolfenbarger, the actual month itself?
Oh, I don't know.
Okay. If you were to see a copy of some of your report, would that assist in refreshing your recollection?
Most likely would.
All right.
What page is that?
Page square.
Starting right here, where is it? Right there?
Just read it to yourself. I'll read it in the microphone.
In December.
No, sorry. He's telling you to just read it to yourself because he wants to know if reading that refreshes your memory about the question he's just asked you. So you could just read it to yourself and then he'll ask you a question.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
All right. After having looked at that, do you recall the month that you told law enforcement you saw Melissa Wolfenbarger in 98?
Yes.
And what month was that?
December.
Okay. That's all I have, Judge.
Thank you. Mr. McDermott?
Mr. Dixon, you and I have never had the opportunity of speaking together before. Okay.
Mr. Dixon, if you would, I think you were nodding your head. Did you mean yes?
Oh, yeah, yes.
Okay. If you'll just try and give an out loud yes or no.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
I'm sorry.
So you just mentioned that the first time you kind of began to get intimate with Melissa was on her birthday. Is that correct?
Well, no, nothing happened that night.
Okay.
No. But I liked her. We liked each other. You know, we was growing closer.
Didn't you share a room that night?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, nothing ever happened though.
And at the time you lived with a woman named Deborah, is that correct?
Yes. Yes, I was living with Deborah. Yeah.
And she had an ex-husband that she lived with?
John.
And you...
All right, the Waffle House romance going through there on the cross-examination.
Romances, it sounds like.
We're going to get a break. And when we come back, we're going to switch gears. We're going to head to Ohio for a sentencing in a fascinating case. That's next. Stay with us.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Julia Janae, along with Ted Rollins. Thank you for being with us as we are in this Georgia courtroom this afternoon. The killer's daughter murder trial is what we're calling it. It's a case against Christopher Wolfenbarger. He's accused of killing his wife, Melissa, and it happened back in the 90s, more than 2 decades ago.
Melissa's remains were found in a series of trash bags back in 1998 across the street from Wolfenbarger's place of work. But the case was cold after he claimed that Melissa had simply left him. They didn't feel as though they had enough to take him to trial. Now they do, and here we are. They have him at the defendant's table. We're going to head to Ohio for that other case that we were talking about before the break in just a bit. But right now we're going to stay in Georgia and continue with this testimony that we've been listening to. The Georgia case is fascinating.
It is, and it's hard to get a read for these jurors on everything that was happening back in the 90s because of people's memories and the lack of perhaps digital evidence. So they're piecing it together with testimony of people who knew Melissa. One of her lovers is on the stand testifying, someone who was her manager at the Waffle House where she worked. Let's go in.
From them?
Yes.
And you were also having an affair with Deborah also, is that correct?
Yes.
And when Deborah found out you were having an affair with Melissa, that kind of a trouble happened at Waffle House, right?
Yeah.
And did the manager require one of y'all to leave or to come up with some settlement of that?
No.
Okay. And you said Melissa stayed with you a few times?
Just, she stayed with me one time. And I wasn't living with Deborah at that time. I was over in Liberty Heights after I moved out of Deborah's house.
Okay. You got a new place of your own? Or
Yes.
were you renting a room there too, or did you have your own place?
Yeah.
Okay. But you had a little more freedom.
Yes.
This incident where you say that you met her boyfriend and he picked her up in the car. Apparently he did something to make her cry in the store, right?
Yes.
And then he goes out to the car, and then later that night, she gets in the car and leaves with him. And you just, is that correct?
No, he went out. As he was going to the car, that's when I came out behind him.
But later that night, she got in that car.
When she was off, yes.
When she got off after 9 o'clock.
Yes.
And you described that car as a yellow Volkswagen.
Yeah.
And are you aware that Christopher never owned a yellow Volkswagen?
No.
And you said he peeled out down the road?
Mm-hmm.
The phrase you used, I think, was he was squalling up and down the road?
Yeah.
Have you ever tried to squall out in a Volkswagen Beetle?
No.
Do you remember telling deputies or telling an investigator that you had sex with Melissa multiple times?
Maybe. I might have.
Did you have sex with Melissa multiple times?
No, maybe 2.
3 times?
2, 3 times.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you remember asking Melissa if she could get pregnant?
No.
If I showed you a transcript of your interview with Detective Calhoun in 2003, would that maybe refresh your memory?
Probably, yes.
And I apologize for the fine print. Read this here.
I don't remember asking her.
Don't answer any questions yet. You did ask her if she could get pregnant, and she told you no. Isn't that correct?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I don't think I did.
You testified here about Melissa talking about her children, and you said 2 things that weren't clear to me. On the one hand, you said she didn't really talk about her children, but then you also said, yeah, she mentioned her children a few times and said she missed them,
Yeah.
or that she needed to get back to them.
Yeah, we didn't really get in like detail about her kids, because we was always just having fun, just drinking and socializing.
Yeah.
We didn't get into no details.
But did she talk about her children to you?
I've heard her say some stuff about her kids, like she missed them and stuff like that.
Do you remember telling Detective Calhoun that she never talked about her children?
No.
If I showed you a transcript of that interview, may it refresh your memory?
Maybe.
We'll take a chance.
Okay.
Hold on. I'm sorry. That's this question. My apologies. That.
Yeah. I don't know what that is. That up there?
What is what?
Never mentioned any other parent.
Hey, forgive me, but don't read it out loud, please. Thank you.
I mean, I don't.
To be clear, that was his question to you.
Oh.
So when Detective Calhoun asked you if she ever talked about her family or her parents or anybody to you, you told him that she didn't talk about her mom, dad, brothers, sisters, nothing. She never even talked about her kids.
She told me she had kids. I mean,
Okay.
if you want to consider that talking about them, I don't know.
You say that Melissa was close to you and that she disclosed these details, or you didn't say that she disclosed these details. Do you remember talking to these people, Mr. Fawcett and a couple of investigators, maybe a few weeks ago? Do you remember that?
Where at my residence?
In Rome, yes.
Yes.
Okay. So they came out and interviewed you freshly regarding the details of what happened back then?
Yes.
And do you remember them telling you something about her telling you about instances of abuse?
We didn't go over what was discussed in the 2003 interview.
I apologize, sir, but if you could lean forward, you are really quiet.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
My question is, do you remember telling them at that time about an instance that Melissa told you about abuse?
I mean, she mentioned stuff about being, abused.
So you just testified here this morning that she did not tell you about instances of abuse, but that you only saw marks on her body.
I seen marks on her body, and I heard from her, that he was abusive. I mean, but
You literally just testified a while ago
Okay.
that she did not tell you about instances of abuse. Isn't that correct?
Okay.
And when you talk to these, I keep pointing to them, but it was really only Mr. Fawcett that was with the group. And Detective Shepard was with that group, and Detective Kennedy, I believe. When you talked to that group a few weeks ago, do you remember telling them that you have been interested in Melissa's case all across the years?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And did you a couple of times tell them that you had watched videos?
Yes.
Okay. What videos had you watched about Melissa?
Just when the cold case files.
So you've watched media presentations about her case?
Yeah.
And isn't it the case that you took some details from what you heard and told them to the investigators a few weeks ago as if they were things you remembered?
No. It's just what I can remember, what I can't remember.
Is it possible that some of the things you've listened to over 20 years of videos and interest in Melissa has combined with the things that you think you remember about her?
I haven't heard anything.
Is it possible?
No, I haven't heard anything until I found out he was arrested.
So if he was arrested a year ago, you've had at least a year to watch videos?
Yeah.
Did you listen to any podcasts?
No.
Okay. You testified just a few minutes ago that when Melissa decided to leave at one point, she told you she had to go home because she missed her kids or something about her kids.
Yeah.
But again, you told Detective Calhoun back in the days, which was much closer, that she never talked about her kids.
If I did, I did.
And would you agree with me that the interview you gave Detective Calhoun in 2003 was much closer to the events than today?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, while they take that pause there inside the courtroom, let's bring in our guest for this hour to discuss. Joining us from Los Angeles, California, civil rights and trial attorney and law professor Joe Richardson. Joe, thanks for being on with us. Let's talk about the evidence of abuse here. We're talking about from the 90s, late 90s, and it wasn't enough evidence to bring charges against him for 2 decades. What is the weight of someone coming into the courtroom now and saying, I witnessed this abuse, I witnessed these fights perhaps, and her crying after she interacted with her then husband?
It has some weight, but it's not necessarily going to carry the day by itself, because if so, he would have been prosecuted all that time ago. Anytime you're dealing with a passage of time like you're dealing in this situation, it's just a very, very difficult patchwork that you try to put together of circumstantial evidence that hopefully you can carry past the finish line to beyond a reasonable doubt. That's quite a leap. And then you add all of the things that are going on in this case, including family issues. There are other serial killers in the family. You got all of these other things going, and there are very well-intentioned people that are on the stand that just aren't going to remember everything that they would have before. And so how do you get past reasonable doubt with that in mind? It creates some difficulty. So there's some weight here with the abuse, but that's not going to carry the day by itself, but it's a hard case.
The mentality of a prosecution, it varies state by state, county to county, and it also has morphed over time. From what you've seen, are there more prosecutors now willing to try? Let's go for it. Let's go to trial. We think he did it. Yes, we get it. There's a serial killer here and 25 years have gone by, but you know what? Gosh darn it, let's go. Has that changed in your estimation over the years?
Well, it might have changed, but the reason that it's changed is because of technology. And in an irony, I don't know that you have a lot of that here. You know, the defense is really talking about the things that are missing, not only because of the passage of time, but, you know, DNA evidence, blood evidence, murder evidence, et cetera, and all of these other issues that are going on. So technology has made you be able to do some things that you couldn't do before, but there are some pieces here. You know, they find the body across the street, or portions across the street from where he used to work. There's some inconsistencies in certain testimony and those types of things, and he's hiding when they find him. So there's other things that they put together, but interestingly, in an irony here, I think a lot of the things that you use, technology related, to enliven a cold case might not be here as much as they would want it to be.
Yeah, I think I'm still looking for what is that big piece of evidence that changed everything last year versus the 20 plus years before that.
I think it's a new prosecution team that decided to literally roll the dice. That's what we're seeing play out. We'll see, because there seems to be a lot of inherent reasonable doubt when you're talking about a cold case and the victim's father was a serial killer. That's tough to get over.
It really is.